Hey guys, welcome back to the Veda Mindset podcast. How many things would you do if you weren't so limited by fear? Fear limits us in so many ways. It's probably one of the biggest things that caps our growth and caps our potential because in order to grow, we need to have new experiences, and fear doesn't want you to have new experiences. Fear wants you to stay having familiar experiences. Fear hates it when you step into the unknown, which is why if you want to make grand transformation, if you want to grow a lot as a person, you're gonna have to take fear out of the driver's seat in your mind. When fear is controlling your life, you're never gonna be able to drastically change and transform yourself like the way you really want to. Just think about a time where you really wanted to start that new sport or start that hobby or go after that new endeavor or talk to those new people, but you didn't because you started getting all of these worrying thoughts in your mind like, what if I embarrass myself? Or what if they make fun of me? Or what if I do it wrong? Or what if I feel judged? Or what if I fail? Your mind starts running you with all these fearful thoughts. So you end up backing out on the things you actually want to do deep down because you are limited by your fears. Right now, your mind is afraid of the unknown. And I want to rewire your mind so that instead of fearing the unknown, you actually are curious about the unknown. You're so curious about the unknown that you look forward to it because you know on the other side of the unknown is only growth. I used to be controlled by fear so much. I still struggle. I think we all struggle with going into the unknown, but I was really bad when it came to overcoming my fears in the past. Obviously, now that's changed a lot, and I'm realizing how I would have never experienced all these things I have, or met all these people I have, or just have undergone a lot of transformation without overcoming my fears. Like, you guys know I do martial arts, so you guys think if I let fear guide me, would I be doing martial arts right now? Probably not. It was so scary starting it. You know how intimidating that is? I also took up an undergrad thesis when I was in college. That was so intimidating. I literally was so scared of starting that. And one of the other things I did that was really scary was competing. When I competed in jujitsu, guys, I've never been more scared of my life. It's so funny thinking back to it. Like, I was so scared. So it's not like I don't feel fear, it's that I have trained myself to do it anyway. And like I said, I listed all these things that I've done despite being scared because I have met so many people in the process. I have gained so many skills. I have undergone so much growth, and I've been so proud of myself because of how much I've been able to accomplish. But I wouldn't have been able to accomplish and grow and learn if I didn't end up doing any of those things. If I chose to deny myself those experiences, those opportunities, I would not be the person I am today. I wouldn't have the friends I have today. I wouldn't have the skills and the confidence I have today. In fact, if I did deny those experiences, the fear in my mind would have only grown stronger. Because whenever you avoid something just because you're scared to do it, your mind ends up perceiving that as a threat. Like, literally, your mind thinks that, okay, you're scared of it, you don't want to do it. Okay, because you avoided it, you are now confirming that that thing is threatening to you. And now every single time you try to go do it, you're even more scared than you were originally. Because when you want to do something and you specifically don't do it because you're intimidated or you're scared, your mind ends up perceiving that thing as a threat. The fear ends up growing because of the mere fact you chose to avoid it in the first place. So basically, anytime you want to do something and you specifically don't do it because you're scared of it, your brain ends up strengthening the neural pathways that relate that thing to danger. Because your brain doesn't understand embarrassment, judgment, failing. It just understands perceived threat to you. So when you want to do something and then you say, "Oh, I don't want to do it because what if I embarrass myself?" Or "I don't want to do it because what if I fail?" Or "Oh, like I don't want to do that because what if they judge me?" You end up strengthening those exact neural pathways that are related to fear. So those neural pathways end up becoming stronger and more automatic because of the amount of times you've chosen to avoid a situation just due to intimidation. So now in the future, whenever similar opportunities come forth, you're gonna be a lot quicker to continuously avoid things that intimidate you because you've already strengthened those neural pathways related to fear. Because now, with the amount of times you've avoided something that you really wanted to do deep down, but you didn't because you were scared, your brain interprets your avoidance to that event as confirmation that it does cast a threat to you, that you should be scared and you should continue to avoid that situation. I also bring this up specifically because there are probably some of you who avoid doing things that you want to do because you're scared and you think that you need to prepare yourself more, that you're not ready, that maybe one day in the future you'll do it, but not right now. And like I just said, the more you avoid something, you are only making the fear in your mind grow. Even if you're doing it as a means of preparation, you're not really doing what you think you're doing. You think you're doing it for preparation, but in reality, when you end up facing that same event again in the future, you are gonna be even more scared because now you've waited so much longer, and that event that you were scared of, this opportunity that you were scared to take on, is going to be a lot more intimidating to you way later than it is right now because of how long you've chosen to avoid it. And like I said, when you avoid something, your brain thinks that it is a threat and that you should be scared. I've seen so many people do this. They put something off so much as a means of preparation, as a means to mentally prepare themselves for something that they're intimidated to do. And it's literally redundant because you think that you're preparing yourself, but the more you avoid something, the more your intimidation is going to grow because the more importance you're placing on it and the more your brain feels like you're avoiding something because you're scared of it. So when it's time to do it, you end up being way more scared than you would have been originally if you would have just done it in the beginning when you wanted to, when you didn't feel ready. I'll even use myself for an example. I really wanted to do jujitsu competitions and I put it off for a really long time because I didn't feel like I was ready. I was really intimidated. And honestly, like, if you are in sports or especially if you're in martial arts, like, you're never gonna feel like 100% ready for your first competition. Like, you're never gonna feel like you're an expert and you're gonna win on your first competition, or at least I didn't feel that way. I don't know about other people, but I was just waiting and continuously waiting so that I get more prepared because I thought that if I was more prepared, I won't be as intimidated. And that's not what happened. I was still way more intimidated because I waited so long to do it. Whereas if I did it when I thought about doing it initially, I wouldn't have been as scared because I didn't place that much importance. But the more you wait to do something, the more importance you place on it. And it's just like the psychological thing. The more important something feels to you, the more intimidated you are of it, the more scared you are to just fully go in and do it. So looking back, I really wish I would have taken on the competitions a lot sooner when I actually wanted to do them because it would have diminished the fear a lot faster. Whereas I waited and I waited, I ended up doing it, but it was a lot more intimidating for me just because I chose to wait longer than I wish I did. I also want to mention In order to face bigger fears, in order to do bigger things for yourself, you are gonna have to tackle the smaller fears that you have first. So I'm not asking you to, go out and like do a whole big martial arts competition like I did. Like, I'm not asking you to take on a really big thing that scares you. I'm asking you to start small at least now. Start small because if you aren't doing the little things right now, you're never going to be able to get to the bigger things you want to accomplish. Overcoming your fears is a habitual act. So, the more you avoid the small things you're scared of, the more you are just never going to get to accomplish really big things in life because you are so used to shying away from things that cause you intimidation. For example, I wasn't able to just randomly wake up one day and sign myself up to a jujitsu competition where I could potentially get my ass beat in front of everyone. I didn't one day wake up and have the bravery to do that. It started small. You want to know where it started? It started when I tried to get myself to just go into a gym and start lifting. That was one scary thing. That was one intimidating thing that I wanted to do. But of course, it was scary. And I did it anyway. That was one small thing I did to start getting my mind used to overcoming intimidating events. Because after that, I was able to talk myself into starting martial arts. I'd already gone to the gym and overcame that fear, and I learned how to lift, and I didn't feel clueless in the gym anymore. So 2 years later, I ended up feeling like, okay, like I actually want to start martial arts. And I had that little bravery inside to start something new because I already started something new in the past. So then I'm able to take on martial arts and I'm able to overcome that intimidation. And then after that, I'm able to sign myself up for a competition and overcome that intimidation. Do you see how without doing the initial thing I wanted to do, if I never went to the gym, if I was like, oh, I'm like too embarrassed to go to the gym and learn how to lift, I don't know how to lift and I don't want people to look at me. If I never did that, do you think I would be doing martial arts and competing today? No, I wouldn't, because I've already gotten my mind used to avoiding things I'm intimidated of. And like I said, you don't one day wake up and start doing things that cause you a lot of intimidation. It starts off small. It starts off you proving to yourself that you are capable in smaller ways. They all build up within one another. So if you're avoiding really small things that cause you intimidation, you are continuously making yourself backtrack because you're never going to be able to get to the bigger things you want to do in life if you can't even do the small things. So that's one way to start getting your mind comfortable with things you're really, really intimidated of. Start overcoming your small fears. Start doing the things that you are a little bit intimidated of and start proving to yourself that you are capable, because once you see that you are capable of doing that one thing, you're going to be like, I can do the next thing and I can do the next thing and I can do the next thing until you get to really big things that you never thought you were capable of doing. That's how I feel. Like 4 years ago, you really think I could beat someone up? Like, you really think I could like choke out a girl? I never thought I could do something like that. That was so not even in the realm of like my reality. But things change over time. I was able to overcome initial intimidations, and that was the building blocks of my life today. Looking back and looking at what I was really scared to do, one of the biggest reasons I was scared of taking on certain things is because I was really worried about the outcome. And that is one really big thing that holds a lot of people back from just diving headfirst into the things they want to do despite being scared. They are so worried about the outcome, about the result. If you're anything like me, then you're a bit of a control freak, because for me, I could not get myself to do certain things because I was so worried about the result. And if I'm not in control of the result, then it makes me not want to do it. And I will use my jujitsu competition for that example. I could not control the result. That was one of the biggest reasons I was really intimidated of doing it, because all I could think of was like, what if I lose? What if I embarrass myself? Like, what if like I feel like a failure after? I have no control over that result. I could train as much as I could. I could prepare myself as much as I could. But at the end of the day, when you get on that mat, that other person can very well beat you up. Like it doesn't matter. Like you don't have control over the result when it comes to things like that. I'm sure you can think of something that you want to do and you know that you're not in control of the result. And that is one of the biggest things that holds people back, because you're so focused on the outcome. You can't let go of your control. We just want to know that the outcome will be good after we do what we're scared of. We just want to make sure that, after we overcome our fear, that the outcome, the result of it is good. We didn't embarrass ourselves. No one's judging us. And everything was fine after. And I want to get you away from that way of thinking, because the more you focus on the result, the more you want to control the outcome, the more you have this thing where you need to know the end result of what happens after you do what you were scared of doing, the higher the probability that you won't do what you're scared of. Because if you don't have control over the result, you're gonna avoid it. But like I said, when I was in that situation for my jujitsu competitions, I genuinely had to let go of my control and let go of my need to foresee the future and only want a positive outcome. Obviously, we all want positive outcomes after we do what scares us, but we can't stop ourselves from doing what scares us just because there's a chance of unfavorable events happening after. For example, me losing. That was one of the thoughts that came into my head of like, I don't want to do it because what if I lose? And when I thought that way, that's because I was so trying to control the end result. I didn't want to do what I was scared of unless I knew that at the end I would win. And that's not fair to do to yourself, because you cannot control the outcomes of everything. Sometimes it's just not in your hands. But I bring this up because I want you to realize that the result doesn't matter. I need you to understand that the outcome after you do something that scares you doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if you ended up messing up, or the outcome wasn't what you expected, or maybe things didn't fall into place like you thought it would. The result doesn't matter. What matters is that you overcame your fear, that you did what you were intimidated of doing, and you should feel proud of yourself for that. Be proud of yourself despite the result. I want you to remember, after you do something that you're scared of doing, the result doesn't matter. All that matters is that you fucking did it. You proved to yourself that you were capable of doing something that you were initially intimidated by. And this is the talk I had to have for myself before I ended up taking on those jiu-jitsu competitions. I know I keep talking about it, but it's because it meant a lot to me. And it was actually one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. If you know me, you know like I've never been a physical person like before this. I've never been into martial arts growing up. Nobody in my family does that. Like, I've had zero experience in this sport, and I took it up in my 20s. I've never competed in anything. So when you start competing, especially when you're older and it's in a combat sport, you have to, teach yourself to be brave and go and do these really new big things that you've never done before. So I had to really remind myself of this thing about not caring about the result and going for the things you want to do anyway, despite the outcome. In my case, I ended up getting the outcome I wanted, but I know at the end of the day, even if I didn't get the outcome I wanted, I would have still been proud of myself for putting myself out there and doing what I was scared of doing in the first place. Because that's where the growth is. That's where I knew, despite what happened, despite the end result of what happened after the competition, I knew that I was still growing so much as a person by doing it in the first place. I want to ask you a question. What exactly are you scared of? And I want you to really think about that answer. What exactly are you scared of? For me, I know I was really scared of feeling embarrassed, feeling like a failure, or feeling like people are judging me. And I'm sure those are very similar fears that you guys are going through as well. So, for those of you who are scared to do something that you know deep down you want to do, and you're scared to do it because of what other people might think, I want to ask you these questions. Why do you care so much about what other people think about you? Why do you care so much about what other people think about you to the point that you are changing your decisions? Because you really wanted to do that thing. You really wanted to take on that opportunity. You really wanted to talk to that person, but you didn't do it because you were scared of what they might think of you. Do people's thoughts and opinions affect you that hard that you betray yourself and your desires? Because that's what you're doing. You are quite literally betraying yourself by putting other people's opinions before your own desires. You are disrespecting yourself and your desires because you continuously live your life through the limitations of other people's opinions of you. So yeah, I just want you to think about that. The more you avoid doing things you want to do because you're scared of what others might think, you are literally limiting your potential because of someone else's opinion. Who the fuck is that person? Who is that person to you? They're no one. They should not be control of the destiny in your life. You are in control of the destiny in your life, not them. But the more you place people's opinions of you so high on this pedestal, they will forever control how far you go in your life. These next questions are for the people who are scared to do something because they don't want to mess up or feel embarrassed. They don't want to fail. And I say fail in quotation marks because I don't think that you could ever fail if you're trying something, if you're putting yourself in a position that you never have put yourself before. I think true failure is the people who sit on their ass all day and never try. That's true failure. But anyway, these following questions are for the people who, are scared of feeling embarrassed after they do what they're scared of doing, or feeling like, the outcome isn't what they wanted it to be. Why would you feel embarrassed for not doing something right or not doing something successfully in the beginning? Why would you feel embarrassment for not gaining success so rapidly in something that's new to you? Are you saying that someone who doesn't do something successfully the first time should feel embarrassed of themselves? Are you saying that people who try and do the things they're scared of but don't accurately do it the best the first time should feel embarrassed and ashamed of themselves? Because that's essentially what you're alluding to. When you're in the process of learning, especially if what you're scared of doing is something you have low experience in, it's normal to make mistakes. It's normal to not perform the best the first several times. You're just learning, you're just acquiring new skills. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about. There's no failure, there's just learning and continuing to do your best every time. And doing that over and over and over again until you realize there was never anything to be scared about. Ultimately, for whatever reason you are scared of doing something that you know deep down you want to do, you cannot let fear control your life anymore. You cannot let fear stop you from doing the things that you know you want to do. Your desire to take on that new skill, talk to those different people, take on that opportunity, chase your dreams, needs to be bigger than your fear of it going wrong. Let me repeat this again, and I really want you to listen to what I'm saying. Your desire to grow needs to be bigger than your fear of failure. I actually got this concept from this girl in jujitsu. She's really, really famous. I think she's like 17. Her name is Emily Leva. You can look her up. She was answering questions on her Instagram story, and somebody asked her, how do you deal with worries of losing in your competitions? And she said, my desire to win is bigger than my fear of losing, so it doesn't really bother me. And when she said that, I was like, what the actual fuck? That's like the best mindset to have. And I kind of just like took that on, and I'm applying it to everything in life. And like I just told you, it applies to this. Like, your desire to grow needs to be bigger than your fear of failure, than your fear of embarrassment, than your fear of judgment, than your fear of losing. You need to want it more than you are scared of it. We get scared of all these things that we genuinely want to explore just because we're intimidated or worried or insecure. But our desire to explore these experiences needs to be greater than our fears and our worries. At the end of the day, I want you to push fear out of the driver's seat in your mind. I want you to start making decisions out of love and not fear. Because at the end of the day, every single decision we make either stems from love or fear. When you boil down all of the emotions of happiness, joy, curiosity, interest, desire, that is coming from love. When you boil down anger, insecurities, envy, embarrassment, that is coming from fear. So you're always making your decisions based on either love or fear. And I need you to start making choices solely based on love. Before you decide to do anything, ask yourself, am I making this decision out of love or out of fear? Whenever you choose to not start that new sport because you're intimidated and you don't want to feel embarrassed and mess up, you are making a choice out of fear. When you do start that sport because of your curiosity and your interest in it, despite not being the best at it in the beginning, you are making a choice out of love. Whenever you decide to not make friends with that certain person because you don't want to risk rejection, you are making decisions out of fear. But whenever you decide to go up to them anyway, despite the outcome, you are making decisions out of love. Whenever you decide to not chase your dream because you don't think you're cut out for it, you don't think you're good enough, you are making decisions out of fear. Whenever you do decide to chase your dreams because you are choosing to answer to your calling despite the roadblocks, despite the obstacles, you are making decisions out of love. I can continue on and giving you a bunch of examples, but you get the point. What I want you to realize is, going forward, start making decisions out of love. If you always make decisions out of love, I promise you, you can't go wrong. On the other side of that is growth and success. If you continuously make decisions out of fear, I promise you, your life will be stagnant. I just want to remind you, whatever you're scared of doing, whatever you really want to do but you're intimidated about doing, what you just thought of in your head when I just said that, you are fucking capable of doing it. You have full capability of doing what you're scared of doing. I need you to stop selling yourself short, because if you don't take on these things that you want to do deep down because you're intimidated, you're never going to see how much potential you have. You're never going to see how good you can get at something. You're never going to see how capable you actually are. You're just never going to reach your full potential and see how capable you are if you don't just do the damn thing. The more you avoid it, the more you're never gonna see what you are capable of becoming. And I forgot to mention one thing that I'm sure all of you guys do is rely on people to do the things you're scared of with you. Stop fucking waiting for people to do it with you. You don't need anyone to do these things with you. You can do it on your own. If you depend on people, the more you're gonna be waiting and procrastinating, because sometimes people don't fucking show up. Sometimes they're also scared and intimidated and they don't want to do it. So what are you gonna do then? You need to take it upon yourself to do the things that you want to do despite not having anyone to do it with. I was scared shitless to starting martial arts and walking into a martial arts gym. I did it alone. I didn't wait for anyone to come with me because I knew I'd be waiting forever. And I knew that would give me time to change my mind. When I started this podcast, I had a decision to maybe get a co-host because I was really scared to put myself out there. But I was like, no, fuck that. I don't want no fucking co-host. I want to do this by myself. I want to depend on myself. I'm not trying to wait on anyone to do the things that I'm intimidated of doing. These things that I did were scary to me. They were intimidating, but I wasn't going to depend on anyone to do them with me because if I did, I would just be waiting for other people. And when you're waiting for other people, you end up waiting so much longer than you really wanted to. You end up holding yourself back based on how ready someone else is to do these things with you. If you want to start that business, okay, start it yourself. If you want to go to that event and no friends want to go with you, okay, go by yourself. If you want to take that new class but no one's available to accompany you, go by yourself. You can't depend on people to be a crutch for you in your intimidations. You just have to depend on yourself. You need to remember, you fucking got this. You can do it alone. As I close out this episode, I want to remind you, you will never know how capable you are if you continue to give into fear. You will never know because you continuously avoid new experiences and that's how your life stays stagnant. You're never going to be able to see what you would have become if you actually overcame your fears. You will never get to see all the amazing skills, growth, and success that would have developed because you are continuously letting fear guide your life. You will never get to meet all the amazing people you were supposed to meet if you continue letting fear stop you from having new experiences. Ultimately, your life is in your control. If you continuously let fear guide you, have fun with a mediocre, stagnant life. Or you can do what I did, which was tell fear to move to the fucking side because there's no fucking way I'm gonna let life pass me by. There's no way I'm going to sell myself short just because I'm intimidated or I feel insecure. I'm gonna get over that intimidation. I'm gonna get over those insecurities. Despite my fears, I'm gonna chase after my desires over and over and over and over again until I drill it in my mind that there's nothing that I'm not capable of doing. You need to understand that fear has never been a reason for you to stop yourself from doing what you truly desire to do. I promise you, you will be so grateful in the end for overcoming your fears and doing things anyway despite you feeling intimidated. You're gonna see how capable you truly are, and that is where growth comes, and that's where you're gonna see your success after you start doing the things you're scared of. If you've gotten to the end of this video, I have homework for you. Today, I want you to do something that intimidated you. It doesn't have to be big. I want you to do one thing that you're intimidated of doing, that you have a little bit of fear of doing. I want you to go through with it, and I want you to prove to yourself how capable you actually are. That is your homework. I'm going to end this episode here. If you have friends that let fear run their life, send this episode to them. They need to hear this. If you have any other suggestions on what you guys would like me to talk about moving forward, go ahead and let me know. If you want to see more of me, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. I will leave my usernames in the description. And yeah, I appreciate every single one of you who have given me support on this podcast. And I will see you guys on the next episode.